the Fatima interview with BTS.
I haven't had the
Yes!
time, but
Oh,
I saw
Fatima!
clips. I'm so
Um,
happy that she got to do it.
Here's the thing, right? And this is okay. Here's no, because I saw it and then I got so mad. Not at her.
Okay.
See, this is the content that we could have if we actually get people who are, I wouldn't even say army. Well, yes, in a
Yeah.
sense, but
Understand them.
people who pay attention, people who do their research, people who ask like proper questions. Like this is the content that you could have if you like do all of these things properly. Like I don't want to hear for the millionth time, who do you want to collaborate with? I think we've gotten past as a society.
Tired.
If they want to talk about it, they will.
Yes, like I'm just like we have gotten past that. Like you could there's like a palpable difference. There's a noticeable difference when you have people who actually care, who are interested, people who do their research, who knows what like questions to ask, people who are engaged with the fan. You notice these differences in the output and the work that is produced. So
yeah, that's why I watched the Zach Sang interview right before this, and there's a stark difference. It was like a really good interview. It was like really down to earth, and I feel like the questions were really appropriate for the time, and it was just like really like it was like a 15-minute interview, and it felt like 2 seconds.
Yeah, they're so comfortable with Zach too, so it helps, you know, with that.
I feel like
stuff.
it's like for a lot of celebrities, I'm not just talking about BTS, but like in this instance, we're talking about BTS. When they get to be interviewed by the same people, it makes a huge difference. So, like for the different outlets, when they get interviewed by the same person, well, they feel more comfortable and it shows.
Yeah.
Because they've met before, they've talked before. And so that's why like the interview with Zach was so chill and interesting to me, because you could see that they weren't really nervous. And like Suga, that almost never talks, like talked a lot.
Yeah, he was answering like most of the questions.
I feel like I just want to like add on to that point. I think yes, it makes a difference, but also like even like the first time you get interviewed by somebody, if they don't make you feel comfortable, it's gonna show.
Yeah.
It's like, because even with like I can't remember what the first interview they did with Zach was, but like even that like felt fine. It felt natural. So like
there was just one I think they did, and they were like in a party bus, and it was just like so.
Oh yeah, that was with Zach too.
Yeah, that was just so chill.
Yeah, so
and I trust Zach too, because like I've watched not just like his BTS interviews, but like all of his like K-pop interview content, and not just that, but like I've watched the Ariana Grande one and like all that stuff.
He seems like a genuine.
He's like a genuine fan of a lot of these people and does his research so well. So the questions are very intelligent and intuitive, instead of being like we said, like, who do you want to collaborate with?
Who do you want to collab with?
Who cares? Like, honestly, like that's not the kind of questions that I would ask as a fan.
What venue do you like the most?
Yeah.
We don't care.
Here's the thing, right? So I've been on, okay, I would say that I've been involved in like fandom space. Like BTS is the first group that I've been involved within like fandom spaces. I have to say, this is my personal opinion, I think that Twitter is the best one, but I'm only on Twitter, so that is a very, very biased opinion. And the reason why I say that is because there's like a real-time interaction on Twitter that you don't get with other social media platforms. And I say that to say this. I feel like if you're an interviewer or if you're somebody in the media space, you have to be involved in fandom culture just a little bit. Like you have to know what's going on in fandom spaces. You
can't just dip like one toe and it's 100%. Enough. Like there's so much going on.
Yeah, there's so much nuances and
going on. There's a lot of nuance. There's a bombardment of a lot of information that you'll miss if you're not paying attention. Like people who sit on Twitter every day and who are like really, really involved in this miss some stuff. So you're obviously gonna miss some things too. But I feel there's this people think that there's this like quote unquote bias if you're a fan of something and if you like something and you also want to be critical of it. And I think that is complete BS because who knows the material more than people who are directly involved. In who understand like the full scope of the material. So
100%. No, I totally agree with that. Like even, you know, like I could even compare this to like movie critics as well, right? Like they don't work in the industry, so they don't know the ins and outs of how things work and how things get produced and what directorial choices have to be made sometimes or sacrifices that have to be made in order to get something even to be on a blockbuster screen. And I'm like, you're making these assumptions or decisions based on just your first impression without doing the due diligence and the due research that's necessary for these things. Like, I hate the comment of like, oh, they were doing reshoots, it's probably awful. And I'm like, no, sometimes we just miss shit. Or sometimes like it doesn't like look that good on the first or couple takes that we have, so we have to go back and redo it.
And here's the thing, right? I'm not saying this like I don't want this to come off as like me saying that people can't be critical because that's not what I'm saying.
No, not at all.
You can tell the difference with being like you can be like, okay, I've done the research, I know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna critique this with specific knowledge that I have researched about, and here is why I think what I think. There is a stark difference between like critiquing in that way and just like, looking at a piece of art or looking at something. You don't understand anything. You don't understand the content. You don't understand what is going on, and you write what you want to write. There are people who are reviewing I didn't even want to go here, but like there are people who are reviewing BTS albums without reading the lyrics. What are we doing? What are we actually?
Why?
It's a waste of time.
Like,
what are we? What's going on?
It's like you're reviewing like a fourth of what it is. It's not even half of it. It's like a fourth of what it is.
Range.
Well, and there was, I don't know, I think it was like Sirius XM or something like that, who did one of the Grammy interviews for this week. And like one of the questions was like, who are you bringing to the, like, what kind of date are you bringing to the Grammys? And I'm like, bruh, like, of course they were like, we're bringing each other, like, you, and like Jimin made it like fun and like whatever. But I'm like, you know that they don't want to have these questions asked. Like they have said this in the past. And also, let me just point out, if you did your research and you actually dived a little bit into the culture that is South Korea, you would know that this shit is not talked about, especially with idols. Like, no.
And they also just like enjoy their time together. Like this is their time.
Who cares?
Just let them be. Just let them be.
This is my final point on this, and this isn't even my point. I'm like, this isn't my point. This is Elliot Tang's point that I just want to like bring up here because he did like a whole like stream and a whole like video about it, right? All of the major K-pop writers are white, and I don't understand why like we can't have more like East Asian people who are actually writing about this, people who understand the language, people who understand the culture, people who can like, if you're, especially for something like music, because even if like reading like multiple translations, like I read multiple translations, there are just certain nuances, certain cultural content that I am not going to understand, and that's okay, right? That's the beauty of it all. Like, why aren't we having more people from like writers and journalists who review these albums? Why can't it be East Asian people? I just want to make that point because Elliot was talking about it. he's like, the only times that like people ask for my opinion, because he's half Chinese, I think. Don't want to fuck that up. But he's like, the only time people ask him to write stuff is when they want him to write about Asian people's like trauma. And I'm just like, I feel that. But yeah.
Yikes.
I just it's like what the fuck ever. But yeah. I don't even know, like I'm just like saying thoughts at this point, but be critical with research, with knowledge. Don't just like say shit to say shit, especially if you don't know what you're talking about.
100%.
Also, remember that if you put something on social media or on the internet, it stays there
forever. Even if you delete it, it's always gonna be there.
Especially Army, because people be having posts up for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, bro, you gotta.
It's like people are faster. People are faster than you.
Exactly.